Welcome to Coins News Daily. Today we're talking about the United States of America's most valuable rare Kennedy half-dollar coins that collectors are paying thousands, even tens of thousands, of dollars for. This Kennedy half-dollar just sold for over $100,000. Do you have one subscription? Like, share, comments. Me thanks with love for watching. Red Heart. Coin 1. Today we are diving into one of the most mysterious and misunderstood coins in American history. A coin that millions of people have seen, thousands have saved, but only a few truly understand. This is the story of the 1967 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark, a coin surrounded by history, emotion, confusion, and in rare cases, serious value. Before we begin, take a deep breath and imagine the year 1967. America was changing. The country was still feeling the deep emotional impact of President John F. Kennedy's assassination just a few years earlier. The Kennedy half-dollar had already become more than money. It became a symbol, a memorial, a keepsake, a piece of American memory you could hold in your hand. The Kennedy half-dollar was first introduced in 1964, just months after President Kennedy's death. The nation wanted to honor him quickly, and the U.S. Mint responded with remarkable speed. By 1965, the coin composition changed from 90% silver to 40% silver due to rising silver prices and coin shortages. And then came 1967, one of the most interesting years in the series. Now here's where things get fascinating. In 1967, the United States Mint did something unusual. To discourage coin hoarding during a nationwide coin shortage, they removed mint marks from all circulating coins. That means every 1967 Kennedy half-dollar you see has no mint mark, not because it's rare, but because it was intentional. These coins were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, yet none carry a mint mark. So when someone says they found a 1967 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark, that alone does not make it rare. But do not stop watching. Because this is where knowledge separates common coins from valuable treasures. Over 295 million Kennedy half-dollars were minted in 1967. That is a massive number. Most of these coins are still very common today in circulated condition. The typical 1967 Kennedy half-dollar contains 40% silver, and its base value is tied closely to the current silver price. However, condition changes everything. Coins that were heavily circulated show wear on Kennedy's hair, cheek, and jawline. The eagle on the reverse loses feather detail. These are common and usually worth only their silver content, but when we move into higher grades, coins that were preserved carefully, coins with sharp detail, strong luster, and minimal contact marks, the value begins to rise. Now let's talk about what truly excites collectors: rare high-grade examples and errors. First, high-grade condition coins. Finding a 1967 Kennedy half-dollar in pristine condition is much harder than people think. Because of heavy circulation and storage methods at the time, most coins developed bag marks and surface scratches. Coins graded at the very top of the scale, especially those with exceptional eye appeal and minimal marks, become scarce. And then we have special mint set coins. In 1967, instead of traditional proof coins, the mint issued special mint sets. These coins have a distinctive satin finish, not quite proof, not quite circulation strike. They have sharper detail and smoother surfaces. Collectors love these because they represent a unique period in American coin production, but even within these special mint sets, there are levels of quality. Some coins show stronger cameo contrast, meaning the portrait appears frosted against a mirror-like background. These are much harder to find. Now let's move into the world of mint errors, because this is where the story gets truly exciting. Error coins are created when something unusual happens during the minting process. These mistakes are not supposed to happen, which is exactly why collectors chase them. For the 1967 Kennedy half-dollar, some of the most valuable errors include double die varieties, where parts of the design appear double due to a misalignment during die creation. Look closely at the lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust. Doubling in these areas can significantly increase value. Off-center strikes, where the coin was not properly aligned when struck, leaving part of the design missing. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing the date, the more desirable it becomes. clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin's edge is missing due to a metal cutting error before striking, struck through errors, where debris interfered with the strike, leaving unusual textures or indentations, and then there are extremely rare transitional or experimental strike anomalies. Though these are far less common and highly scrutinized by experts, collectors, listen carefully. Authentication is everything. Because so many 1967 coins exist, condition and verified errors must be certified by reputable grading services to command serious premiums. Now let's talk about why people are still searching through rolls and old collections for this coin. It's not just about silver. It's about the possibility. The possibility that inside a jar of old change, a forgotten envelope, or a bank roll, there could be a high-grade gem or dramatic mint error worth far more than face value. The Kennedy $50 carries emotional weight. It represents a turning point in American history. It represents the last circulating $50 intended for everyday commerce before the denomination slowly faded from common use, and even though most 1967 examples are common, the top-tier specimens and dramatic errors remind us why coin collecting is so thrilling. It's a treasure hunt hidden in plain sight. Now let's talk real market numbers, and listen very carefully. A typical circulated 1967 Kennedy $50 with no mint mark is worth approximately $4 to $6 based on silver content. An uncirculated example in high grade can sell for approximately $20 to $60 depending on preservation and eye appeal. Exceptional top-graded specimens certified at the highest mint state levels have sold at auction for approximately $5,000 to $7,000. Special mint set examples with strong cameo contrast can reach approximately $100 to several $100 depending on quality. Major mint error examples such as dramatic off-center strikes or strong double dies have sold for several $100 to several $1,000 depending on rarity and condition. And that is why this coin continues to fascinate collectors today. It is not just about finding a 1967 Kennedy $50 with no mint mark, because they all have no mint mark. It is about understanding condition, understanding rarity, understanding errors, understanding history. The next time you hold one of these coins, don't just look at it. Study the hair detail. Study the fields for luster. Check the lettering for doubling. Examine the edge for irregularities. Because knowledge turns ordinary coins into extraordinary discoveries. If you love coin collecting, if you love history, and if you love the thrill of hidden value, the 1967 Kennedy $50 deserves your attention, and who knows, the next rare example might already be waiting in someone's collection, unnoticed. Stay curious. Stay searching. And never underestimate the story a single coin can tell. Coin 2. We are diving into one of the most talked about modern American coins, a coin that many people have seen, but very few truly understand. In your pocket change, in your old drawers, inside forgotten coin jars across the country, there could be a treasure hiding in plain sight. And that treasure is the 1972 D. Kennedy $50. Before we begin, take a second and imagine this. It's 1972. America is going through change. The space race has already taken humans to the moon. The Vietnam War is still shaping headlines. And inside the United States Mint, presses are striking millions of Kennedy $50 at the Denver Mint, each one carrying the small but powerful D mint mark. But here is the question every collector wants answered. Is the 1972 D Kennedy $50 valuable? And if so, which ones are worth serious money? Let's start with the basics. The 1972 D Kennedy $50 was struck at the Denver Mint. It features the iconic portrait of President John F. Kennedy on the obverse, designed by Gilroy Roberts. On the reverse, you'll see the presidential seal, created by Frank Gasparo, with the eagle holding arrows and an olive branch. This design had already become a symbol of remembrance and national pride after Kennedy's assassination in 1963. Now here's something important. By 1972, the Kennedy $50 was no longer made of silver for circulation. The 1972 D coin is composed of a copper-nickel clad composition. That means it does not contain silver like the 1964 issues or the special 40% silver coins from 1965 to 1970. So at first glance, many people assume it cannot be valuable. That assumption would be a mistake. more than 141 million 1972 Kennedy half dollars were minted. That is a huge number. And usually, high mintage means low value. But coin collecting is never that simple. Because value is not just about how many were made. It's about how many survived in high-grade condition, how many contain rare errors, and how many are preserved in almost perfect state. Let's talk about condition first. Most 1972 half dollars entered circulation. They were used in banks, vending machines, casinos, and everyday transactions. Because of that, the majority you find today are heavily worn. These circulated examples usually show dull surfaces, scratches, flattened hair details on Kennedy's portrait, and weak luster. In average circulated condition, the 1972 Kennedy half dollar is worth face value 50 cents. That's it, but when we move into uncirculated condition, things begin to change. An uncirculated 1972 half dollar still has its original mint luster. The surfaces are bright. The details in Kennedy's hair are sharp. The eagle's feathers are crisp. These coins were either pulled from mint rolls early or preserved carefully by collectors. In lower uncirculated grades, these coins can sell for a few dollars. But the real excitement begins at the highest grades. Coins graded mint state 65 and above by professional grading services become significantly harder to find. Why? Because even though millions were made, the Denver mint strikes in the early 1970s were not always perfect. Many coins show weak strikes, contact marks from being stored in large mint bags, and surface imperfections. So finding a 1972 Kennedy half dollar graded mint state 66 or mint state 67 is a real challenge, and when rarity meets demand, prices rise. In top graded mint state 67 condition, auction records have reached over $1,000. That is a dramatic jump from face value. And it proves something very important. Even common date coins can become rare when preserved in exceptional condition. Now let's move to something even more exciting. Mint errors. Errors are where ordinary coins turn extraordinary. The 1972 Kennedy half dollar is known for several types of collectible errors. One of the most popular is the double die variety. While not as dramatic as some famous double dies, certain 1972 coins show noticeable doubling in the lettering, especially in the word Liberty or In God We Trust. These varieties attract strong collector interest. Another major error type is the off-center strike. When a coin blank is not properly aligned in the press, part of the design is missing. A 1972 Kennedy half dollar struck 20% or more off-center, while still showing the date and mint mark, can command strong premiums. Then we have clipped planchets. This happens when the metal strip is improperly fed into the blanking press, causing a curved or straight clip on the edge of the coin. These are highly collectible because they are dramatic and easy to see. There are also coins struck on wrong planchets. Imagine a 1972 Kennedy half dollar struck on a smaller denomination blank, such as a quarter planchet. These rare mint mistakes are extremely scarce and can bring thousands at auction depending on condition and authentication, and let's not forget about die cracks and cut errors. These raised lines or blobs of metal occur when a die begins to break. Some collectors actively search rolls of 1972 halves hoping to find dramatic die break examples, but here's something very important. Authentication matters. In today's market, serious buyers want coins certified by respected grading companies. A top-grade 1972 half dollar in a secure holder from a professional grading service can bring significantly more money than a raw coin. Why? Because trust equals value. Now let's talk about collector psychology. The Kennedy half dollar series remains one of the most collected modern U.S. coin series. Many collectors build complete date and mint mark sets from 1964 to present. That means every date matters, including 1972. High-grade registry set collectors compete fiercely for the finest known examples. When two collectors both want the best graded 1972 for their registry set, auction prices can skyrocket. And that's exactly what has happened in past auctions. A superb gem mint state 67 example of the 1972 Kennedy half dollar has sold for over $1,500 in major public auction. That is not speculation. That is documented auction history. Now imagine this. Somewhere out there, in an old bank roll or forgotten collection, a near-perfect 1972 half-dollar might still be waiting to be discovered. That possibility is what makes coin collecting magical. It is the thrill of the hunt. The excitement of searching through rolls. The careful inspection under magnification. The moment when you tilt the coin under light and see blazing original luster untouched for decades. The 1972 Kennedy half-dollar may not contain silver. It may not seem rare at first glance. But in the highest grades and in rare error forms, it becomes a true prize. So here is what you should do: check your coin jars. Look through inherited collections. Ask your local bank for half-dollar rolls. Study the surfaces carefully. Look for sharp detail, minimal marks, and strong luster. Search for doubling, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and unusual features, because the difference between 50 cents and over $1,000 can come down to condition and rarity. And now let's talk clearly about value. In circulated condition, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar is worth face value of 50 cents. In typical uncirculated mint state condition, examples sell for approximately $3 to $10 depending on appeal. In certified mint state 66 condition, market values range from approximately $100 to $200. In superb mint state 67 condition, real auction records have exceeded $1,500. Major mint error examples such as dramatic off-center strikes or wrong planchet errors have sold for several $1,000s depending on the severity and certification. That is the real market reality, from pocket change to potentially thousands. If you are a coin lover, listen carefully. Never judge a coin only by its date. Study its condition. Learn its varieties. Understand its history. Because sometimes the most overlooked coins hold the most surprising value. The 1972 Kennedy half-dollar is a perfect example of how modern coins can still offer excitement, rarity, and real money potential. And who knows? The next time you hold a Kennedy half-dollar in your hand, you might not just be holding 50 cents, you might be holding a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. Coin 3. We are diving into a coin that many collectors overlook, many people misunderstand, and yet it continues to spark curiosity across the country. Get comfortable, because this is a deep and fascinating journey into the United States of America's most talked about modern silver era design, the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark. When most people hear the name Kennedy half-dollar, they immediately think about history, tragedy, and national pride. The coin was first introduced in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy after his assassination. The design captured the nation's grief and admiration, and Americans lined up at banks to get one. But by 1973, the coin had already entered a very different era. Now here is where it gets interesting. The 1973 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia facility of the United States Mint. During that time, Philadelphia coins traditionally carried no mint mark. So technically, a missing mint mark on a 1973 half-dollar is not an error. It is normal. And yet, this simple detail creates confusion and opportunity in the market. Many people believe that no mint mark automatically means rare. In some years that is true. In others, like 1973, the truth is more complex. In 1973, the half-dollar was no longer widely used in daily commerce. By the early 1970s, half-dollars had already begun disappearing from circulation. Vending machines did not accept them, casinos preferred dollars, and the public simply stopped using them. Because of this, many 1973 half-dollars were saved in rolls and mint sets instead of being heavily circulated. That preservation plays a big role in today's market, but here's where collectors need to listen very carefully. While the regular 1973 Philadelphia half-dollar is common in circulated grades, finding one in truly pristine uncirculated condition is much harder than people expect. Many coins from mint sets developed contact marks, hazing, toning spots, and surface abrasions over the decades. Perfect examples with strong luster, sharp details in Kennedy's hair, and crisp eagle feathers on the reverse are far scarcer than the mintage numbers suggest, and that is where value begins to separate. Let's talk about what makes a 1973 no mint mark half-dollar truly desirable. First, condition is everything. In lower circulated grades, the coin shows wear on Kennedy's cheek and hair above the ear. The eagle's breast feathers lose sharpness. These pieces are generally worth face value. But once you move into high mint state grades, coins that never entered circulation, the picture changes dramatically. Collectors look for booming cartwheel luster. They look for strong strike definition, especially on the hair above Kennedy's ear and the lettering around the rim. Weak strikes can lower value significantly. A sharply struck coin with minimal contact mark stands out immediately. Second, eye appeal matters. Some 1973 half dollars developed attractive natural toning over decades. Soft rainbow hues, golden edges, and subtle blues can make a coin visually stunning. Attractive toning can increase collector demand significantly compared to a dull, spotted example. Third, and this is where things get exciting, error varieties can transform an ordinary 1973 half dollar into a premium collectible. Let's break down the most important errors. There are double die varieties where parts of the lettering show slight duplication, especially in Liberty or In God We Trust. These are subtle and require magnification, but when verified, they command strong interest. There are also off-center strikes. These happen when the coin blank is not properly aligned during striking. If the date remains visible and the off-center percentage is dramatic, collectors pay strong premiums. Clipped planchets are another fascinating error. When the metal strip used to punch coin blanks overlaps incorrectly, a curved portion is missing from the edge. These are highly collectible when authentic. Die cracks and cut errors can also add value. A cut forms when a portion of the die breaks off near the rim, leaving a raised blob of metal on the finished coin. Dramatic cuts on a 1973 half dollar are very desirable to error collectors. Now let's address the silver question. By 1973, Kennedy half dollars were no longer struck in 40% silver for circulation. Regular 1973 Philadelphia half dollars are copper nickel clad. However, special collector-proof versions struck in San Francisco in that era can have different finishes. It is important not to confuse proof issues with regular circulation strikes. Proof coins have mirror-like fields and frosted devices, while business strikes have a more standard mint luster. Another factor that keeps collectors interested is long-term scarcity in top grades. While millions were minted, very few survive in flawless condition graded at the absolute highest levels. Coins graded at the very top of the scale by major certification services become condition rarities. And when supply is low and registry collectors compete, prices can rise dramatically. Now imagine this: you search through an old family coin jar. You find a 1973 Kennedy half dollar. At first glance, it looks ordinary. But under magnification, you notice bold luster, minimal marks, and sharp detail. You send it for professional grading. Weeks later, it comes back in an exceptionally high mint state grade. Suddenly, what was once a simple 50-cent coin becomes a premium collectible. That is the thrill of coin collecting. It is not just about metal. It is about discovery. It is about preservation. It is about understanding subtle differences that most people overlook, and here is something many beginners do not realize. Because half dollars were not widely circulated, many high-grade coins are locked away in original government packaging. Breaking open original mint sets sometimes reveals coins that have remained untouched for over 50 years. But this must be done carefully, because improper handling can instantly reduce value. Storage also plays a crucial role. Exposure to moisture, air pollutants, or improper holders can cause toning spots or corrosion. Serious collectors use archival safe holders and stable environments to protect their investments. Now let's talk honestly about value in today's real market. In circulated condition, a 1973 Kennedy half dollar with no mint mark typically trades for face value or slightly above face value. In uncirculated mint state condition, common examples usually sell for between a few dollars depending on eye appeal and preservation. High-grade certified examples can sell for significantly more, especially in top registry grades. and at major auctions, superb gem examples certified at the highest levels have realized prices in the hundreds of dollars, with the finest known pieces reaching into the low thousands of dollars when registry competition is strong. To put it clearly in real market terms today, most circulated pieces are worth 50 cents. Typical uncirculated examples are worth between $3 and $15. High certified mint state examples can bring several $100s. The very finest auction record pieces have sold for amounts exceeding $1,000, that is the real market truth. The 1973 no mint Mark Kennedy $half is not rare in quantity, but it is rare in perfection. And in the world of coin collecting, perfection is where legends are made. If you love coins, always look closely. Examine details. Study strike quality. Learn about errors. Because sometimes, the difference between 50 cents and $1,000 is nothing more than a few microscopic details, and that is why this coin continues to fascinate collectors across the United States of America. Stay curious. Keep searching. And never underestimate the hidden story inside an ordinary-looking coin. Coin 4. We are diving into one of the most mysterious and talked about modern American coins ever struck, the 1983 Kennedy $half. And trust me, if you are a coin lover, collector, or someone who dreams about finding hidden treasure in pocket change, you need to listen very carefully to every second of this video, because this is not just another 50-cent coin, this is a coin that quietly shocked collectors, this is a coin that many people ignored, and this is a coin that, in the right condition, can be worth far more than its face value. Let's begin our journey into the story of the 1983 Kennedy $half. First, a little history to set the stage. The Kennedy $half series began in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination. Since then, it has become one of the most beloved and widely collected coins in the United States. By 1983, the coin was no longer made of silver. It was a copper-nickel-clad coin, containing no precious metal. So at first glance, many people assume it has no special value, but that assumption is where collectors make mistakes. The 1983 Kennedy $half was struck at the Denver Mint. The small D mint mark you see on the coin tells you it was produced in Denver. While millions were minted, something unusual happened that year that makes this coin different from many other modern $half. In 1983, the United States Mint did not release official mint sets for collectors. Let that sink in. For many years, collectors relied on official mint sets to obtain high-quality uncirculated coins. But in 1982 and 1983, no mint sets were sold. That means if collectors wanted pristine examples, they had to search bank rolls or obtain coins directly from circulation. Because of this, high-grade 1983 Kennedy $half are much scarcer than people think. Most examples entered circulation, most were handled, most were scratched, nicked, or worn down. Finding one in exceptional condition today is far more difficult than finding many other modern $half. Now let's talk about what makes this coin valuable. Condition is everything. In circulated condition, the 1983 Kennedy $half is generally worth its face value, 50 cents. Maybe slightly more in bulk, but when we move into uncirculated grades, things begin to change. Coins graded mint state 63 or mint state 64 might sell for a modest premium, but when you reach mint state 65 and above, the price jumps dramatically, and when we talk about superb gem condition, graded mint state 67 or higher, that's where serious collectors start competing. Because of the lack of mint sets in 1983, true high-end examples are scarce. Many coins from that year show weak strikes, bag marks, dull luster, or surface imperfections. So a sharply struck, fully lustrous, nearly flawless example becomes a condition rarity. Now let's go even deeper. There is something called full bell lines that if you look closely at the reverse of the Kennedy $half, you will see the Liberty Bell. At the bottom of the bell are horizontal lines. On high-quality strikes, those lines appear complete and unbroken. Collectors call this the full bell lines designation. Finding a 1983 Kennedy $half with strong full bell lines is extremely difficult. Weak strikes were common at the Denver Mint that year. So coins with crisp detail on the bell are highly sought after. If you find one with full bell lines in high mint state grade, you may be holding something very special. Now let's talk about errors. Errors are where things get exciting. While the 1983 D. Kennedy half-dollar is not widely known for dramatic errors, several types have been discovered. Off-center strikes are one possibility. These occur when the coin is not properly aligned during striking, leaving part of the design missing. Clipped planchets are another error. This happens when the metal blank is improperly cut, leaving a curved missing section on the edge of the coin. Die cracks and die breaks can also add collectible interest. These appear as raised lines on the surface caused by damaged dies, and then there are double die varieties. While major double dies are rare for this date, minor doubling can sometimes be found on lettering or design elements. Collectors love error coins because they are unique. No two are exactly alike. If you discover a dramatic error on a 1983 D. Kennedy half-dollar, its value can increase significantly depending on the type and visibility of the error. Now imagine this: you are searching through an old coin jar, you find a 1983 half-dollar, you check for the D mint mark, you examine the surfaces under good light, you see strong luster, sharp details, clean fields. Clear, bold lines on the Liberty Bell. That moment of realization that you might be holding a condition rarity is what makes coin collecting addictive. But here's the most important part: not every 1983 D. Kennedy half-dollar is valuable. Only the best of the best command serious money. Grading is critical. Professional grading services examine surface preservation, strike quality, luster, and eye appeal. Even tiny marks can lower the grade and dramatically reduce value. That is why collectors carefully store these coins in protective holders, away from moisture, fingerprints, and scratches. Now let's talk about real market value. In circulated condition, the 1983 D. Kennedy half-dollar is worth 50 cents. In typical uncirculated condition, examples generally sell for between $3 and $10 depending on quality. High-grade mint state 65 examples usually trade in the range of $20 to $40. Superb mint state 66 coins can sell for around $100. In mint state 67, prices have reached approximately $1,000 in strong markets, and the finest known examples in mint state 67 with exceptional eye appeal have achieved auction results of around $2,500. Error examples vary widely, but significant off-center or dramatic mint errors can bring several $100s depending on severity and certification. That is the incredible story of the 1983 D. Kennedy half-dollar. A modern coin. A circulating issue, ignored by many, but quietly respected by serious collectors. If you enjoyed learning about this fascinating coin, make sure you stay with us for more deep dives into rare and valuable coins hiding in plain sight. Because sometimes the greatest treasures are not ancient gold coins or silver dollars, sometimes they are modern coins that people overlook, and sometimes they are waiting for someone like you to discover them. Coin 5. We are diving into one of the most mysterious and talked about modern American coins ever struck. A coin that looks simple at first glance, yet hides a story of rarity, controversy, collector obsession, and astonishing value. Get comfortable, because this is a journey every coin lover must hear very carefully from beginning to end. We are talking about the 1998 P. Kennedy half-dollar. Before we go deeper, imagine holding a half-dollar in your hand. Solid. Historic. Presidential. The Kennedy half-dollar was first introduced in 1964, just months after President John F. Kennedy's tragic assassination. It became more than money. It became a tribute. A symbol. A piece of American history. Fast forward to 1998. By this time, half-dollars were no longer circulating widely in everyday commerce. Most were made primarily for collectors. And that is exactly where the story of this rare 1998 P Mint mark coin begins. The P Mint mark means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. For decades, Philadelphia coins did not even carry a mint mark. But by 1998, the P Mint mark was standard. So at first glance, a 1998 P half-dollar seems completely ordinary. Millions were struck for collectors in standard uncirculated sets. Nothing shocking there, but here is where it gets interesting. In 1998, the United States Mint did something special. They released a commemorative silver dollar honoring Robert F. Kennedy. To celebrate that release, the Mint created a special collector set that included a unique version of the 1998 P. Kennedy half-dollar. This was not just any half-dollar, this coin was struck in matte finish. Not the usual brilliant uncirculated shine. Not a proof mirror finish. But a distinctive satin, matte surface that gives it a soft, smooth, almost velvety appearance. The surfaces look refined, muted, and elegant. When light hits the coin, it does not flash like a proof. Instead, it glows. This special matte 1998 P. Kennedy $50 was never released for circulation. It was only available inside that special 2-coin commemorative set. That means collectors had to purchase the entire set to get it, and here is the key to its rarity. The total mintage of this special matte finish 1998 P. $50 was just over 60,000 pieces. For modern US coins, that is extremely low. Many modern coins have mintages in the millions. Even tens of millions. But this one? Just a tiny fraction of that. Low mintage alone creates scarcity, but scarcity alone does not create value. Condition creates value. Because these coins were sold to collectors, many were preserved carefully. However, the matte finish is delicate. It shows marks and imperfections easily. Tiny contact marks, hairlines, or mishandling can reduce the grade dramatically. Achieving a perfect grade on this coin is incredibly difficult, and that brings us to grading. When this coin is certified in near-perfect condition, collectors begin competing fiercely. In grades like MS69, the coin becomes significantly more desirable. But in a perfect MS70 grade, this coin enters elite territory. Very few examples have reached that level. That is where auction records begin to climb into astonishing territory. Now let's talk about errors. While the standard matte 1998 P is already rare, error coins add another level of excitement. Some examples have been found with striking irregularities. Off-center strikes. Planchet flaws. Minor double strikes. These are extremely scarce because the limited mintage means fewer chances for dramatic mint errors to survive. Collectors search carefully for coins with strong strikes and flawless surfaces. The detail in Kennedy's hair. The sharpness of the lettering. The clarity of the eagle on the reverse. On matte examples, the texture must be consistent and original. Cleaning or alteration destroys value immediately. One fascinating detail is the contrast between the matte Kennedy $50 and the regular business strike from 1998. Place them side by side and the difference becomes obvious. The matte coin almost looks like a prototype or experimental strike. That unique appearance alone makes collectors want it in their sets. Why does this coin excite collectors so much? Because it represents a modern rarity. Most people assume valuable coins must be old. 18th century. 19th century. Silver Rush era. But here we have a late 20th century coin that proves rarity can happen anytime. And when modern coins are rare, they can become sleeper investments. Another reason for its popularity is that it completes a Kennedy $50 collection in a special way. Many collectors aim for a complete date and mint set. But without the matte 1998 P, the collection feels incomplete to serious specialists. Now imagine being a collector who discovers this coin in its original government packaging. Opening that set. Seeing the untouched matte surface. Sending it to grading. Waiting for the results. That anticipation alone is thrilling. Some collectors made the mistake years ago of breaking open the sets without protecting the coin properly. Fingerprints, sliding in plastic holders, minor scuffs. All of those reduce grade potential. And today, high-grade examples are far more valuable because of that. The psychology of rarity is powerful. When collectors know only around 60,000 were made, and far fewer survive in pristine condition, demand increases. Registry set collectors compete intensely for top population coins. Auctions become battlegrounds, and now we come to what everyone waits for, value. Circulated regular 1998 P $50 from mint sets are typically worth only face value or slightly above. They are common, but the special matte finish 1998 P Kennedy $50 from the commemorative set is a completely different story. In average ungraded condition with original packaging, this coin typically sells in the range of $40 to $70 depending on demand and condition. Certified examples graded MS69 have sold for approximately $150 to $300 depending on eye appeal and market timing, and perfect MS70 graded examples have achieved auction results reaching as high as $1,500 in strong market conditions. Exceptional error examples, when authenticated and dramatic enough, can command even higher premiums depending on uniqueness and collector interest. So the next time you see a 1998 P. Kennedy half-dollar, do not assume it is ordinary. Look closer. Examine the surface. Study the texture. Research its origin. Because hidden among modern coins is a matte masterpiece with a tiny mintage and a powerful story, coin collecting is not just about metal. It is about history, mystery, scarcity, and the thrill of discovery. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of America's most valuable modern Kennedy half-dollars, stay tuned. There are always more hidden treasures waiting to be uncovered. And remember, sometimes the rarest coins are not the oldest ones, they are the ones few people thought to look for. Listen carefully. Search carefully. And happy collecting.